Hi, I'm James Brookes, and welcome to From the Factory Floor, a conversational podcast about all things startup and tech, brought to you by the folks at Thestartupfactory.tech. And welcome back to another episode from the Factory Floor. As ever, I'm your host, James, and very kindly joined today by Nairi again. How you doing, Nairi?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's sort of that winter weather's set in Manchester, so I think everyone got drenched on the way in if they didn't have to just swim anyway.
Yeah, I'm hibernating now. I'm coming out in
And that's it, you know. There's the Green Day song, Wake Me Up When September Ends, but I think it's nice Wake Me Up at sort of end of February. I think it's probably about right these days. And anyway, well, it's not about us today. We're very kindly joined by Harry from Hauser. Hi, Harry.
Hi guys, you okay?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's a little bit warmer in my office, but don't get me wrong, it's definitely cold still.
So really today, Harry, we just want to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself, what you're doing at Hauser, what is Hauser. So I guess to start for 10, do you want to just kick us off a little bit about you and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a hell of a journey, and I think on that growth journey, that's why I did meet Nairi, and I've taken this bang in the middle of the day so that you might hear some of my team in meetings behind me. We are mega busy right now, but no. So yeah, I say I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hauser. I started my kind of journey of Hauser at university with my co-founder and CTO Ben. He's actually sat behind me. You might be able to see him as well. So me and Ben started at university. We were trying to find a property ourselves, and it was so hard to find said home. You know, one mobile app here, one phone call here, one email over here, and we thought it needs to be something done about that. But before I go into detail about that and more about kind of background of me, I started my journey a little bit before that, before university. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not into creating my own clothing brand and fashion, but I did have my own clothing brand when I was younger. I was 15 when I started my own clothing brand, and that was the reason behind that wasn't, as I say, because I adored the idea of trying to be in Paris Fashion Week, but it was to raise early capital to start a software company that I had in mind. So I managed to raise about £6,000, was selling to my friends, family, in terms of my t-shirts, and literally ironed on transfers, start this software company. Managed to exit from that, made a bit of cash and put that in mainly into a media company. Then I had a media company throughout university, which was consulting for different brands on sales and marketing and different drop servicing techniques for a creative agency. Then I had Hauser, stopped everything and put everything into Hauser, and Hauser is where it is today because of that focus. And that's kind of my personal journey. And yeah, now that's my main focus, and it's a big focus. It takes up all my time and some more. But that's where I've got to right now, and it's been a journey for sure.
No, I think journey is probably the right word with that, Harry. I think, you've obviously had an entrepreneurial spirit, right from the get-go. And I think especially, going from clothing brand to media company, trying to balance that with actually doing a degree through to, like you say, finding the problem with student housing, which, let's face it, I think it's all over the media at the moment around how much student housing costs, its availability. It's obviously a real problem. So how did you actually come up with the idea, and what was it that actually changed from this?
It was an experience. It was an experience and a problem that I was having, and my co-founder was having as students ourselves. Finding a house is very difficult. Look, first year accommodation, everything's done for you. You're wrapped in cotton wool by your parents almost. Everything's done for you. And then second year, you're pushed into this lion's den of the private rental market. And guys, look, Nairi, James, it's scary, isn't it? And all your listeners will know this. Private rental is scary for anyone, let alone an 18-year-old or an international student. And we were feeling the same way. I'll be honest, all I cared about was going out and sort of doing my degree and playing a bit of sport at uni. And I can tell you for the UK, that is majority of preferences for students. They shouldn't be overwhelmed by the stresses of trying to find a home, something so important to you, yet so down on your priorities as a human at that part of your journey in your career as a student. But yet it's all encompassing. It's stressful. Who am I going to live with? Where am I going to live? Who's going to do my bills? What's all this stuff with the energy suppliers? How do I deal with the letting agent? So we trying to basically be that tool and that student hand-holding app that literally does that. It holds the hand for every single step of the way and centralizes all processes under one roof, so students can find flatmates, find a home like Tinder, swiping right and left on property, not people, unfortunately. And so that Tinder aspect puts it all in one profile, increases simplicity, decreases time and effort needed to find a house. So students can find flatmates, find a home and manage it all in one, and do their utilities. And they can also offset their rent by answering some questions per month. Data's being sold every day. We say to students, we want to sell your data onto student marketing brands, and we're going to pay you a big portion of that back to help offset your rent. So answer these questions and we'll pay your rent this month. So we're an all-encompassing student tool. And the transition from media company to this was because it came out of a root cause of a problem I had. It wasn't an idea I tried to find or a business I thought, okay, I want to go start this. Housing's not a sexy thing, guys. It's not a sexy thing to get into, nor is utilities. So it came out of a problem me and Ben had, and that's why I think we've been successful, because we've been building something first and foremost to deal with our problem. So all our motto is, despite all our team not being students anymore, it's built by students for students. We know what that problem is, and we, I'll probably go into it in more detail later, but we realise the problem is just as big for the side of the market. Letting agents, they get overlooked, so we completely remap that, and we've got a product for both parties now. It's been a hell of a switch, but a switch that I'm massively grateful for doing.
Bro, thanks, Harry. It's really interesting. Just going into the build bit, can you just talk to us a bit about the build approach? Obviously, you've got Ben, who's your co-founder and CTO, isn't he? So you've got some technical support, but obviously a lot of startups getting started and knowing how to build and what to build and bootstrapping is really difficult. So how did you kind of tackle the MVP and the POC phase, Hauser?
I think, look, let's be honest, there's this stigma that it needs to be the best thing since sliced bread as soon as you launch, and you've got to all your founders listen, you've got to swallow your pride and get on with it and get to market. Just being very blunt, and that's coming from someone that had a lot of pride and wanted to be perfect in every step of the way. And I look back at my first concept of the app, and it's completely different to what it is today. So I'm going to say this, it might be a bit controversial, but 75% of your listeners building something, their MVP will be nowhere near their product in a year's time from this podcast. That's what I'm going to say. So you might think, oh my God, I'm spending all this money then. It's pointless. It's not. You need to get to market with something, get some market feedback, iterate, then build on it. It's better to not spend an awful lot and do it in gradual steps, usually because people can't afford it anyway. So the actual nature of not being able to afford a big dev team straight away in a 100K project is, in my opinion, in your favor. You do it, you chunk it, because if you do it in chunks, it's like going upstairs. You go up, you go across, down a bit, go up again, go across, up again. Instead of going all the way up, you're not going all the way up and then making a big mistake and there's no demand for your product. If you do it in chunks and do it like you're going upstairs, each step is a greater demand understanding and greater validity of your brand and your product every step you go. So by the time you've got to the top and spent that 100K over different chunks and different segments of different investment rounds, or friends and family can help you, by the end of it, you've got a product that's massively in demand. I think, I've got my CTO now, but he wasn't a CTO. He did history. You probably can hear me and laugh. He did history at uni. And we were both non-technical. Now Ben is fair play. He's genius. He's good at what he does. I give him a lot of stick, but he is good. It's a blessing in disguise in terms of, it's a blessing. It's a blessing no matter what that co-founding pair is what we are. But we realised that one of us had to be technical. He went and learned himself. Ended up doing Met Police contracts and things, and now as our CTO, leading a dev team of 7 in-house. But at the start, it's okay to outsource. You will have issues. You will have doubts. You will have problems. All your time will be based on managing those people and those developers, wherever they are, domestic or international. But you've got to go through go up that first step of those stairs, chunk it with that first bit of funding you might have, or a bit of cash, £100, £200, whatever it is. Get that first sort of idea out there, even if it's just wireframes. Go to your market or go to investors. That first step allows you to go to investors, get more money to go up another step, or allows you to go to your market and understand exactly what your product should be for the next step. So each step is so important. No matter how much money or how much capacity you've got, be motivated by going up to every step. That's kind of my stuff, to be honest with you.
I think it's one of those where I think it's got to the stage now especially with products and when they're going into market, you have to take that really iterative approach. You know, you can't just go out with a big bang. Like I said, you know, if you're proud of your MVP, you've probably waited too long, was a quote someone told me a long time ago.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
And it's because you're right, get it released, you know, down and dirty. One of the things we do is when we build products is we build an initial walking skeleton almost and get people to test that, just to, you know, get them out the building, get them to test and make sure that, like you say, when it hits the market, the product is ready for it, and the market is also ready for exactly what it is. Well, I suppose that goes on to the next part, like the startup journey, which is almost the sales aspect. Now, you know, how did you manage, once you got your product and, you know, you've got your product market fit, that actually you began that sales process and begin selling this to people?
No, I don't know why my metaphors today have all been about stairs, but I'm going to go back to it. I kind of went up to the top of the step, then had to go back down and do it all again, because my first year, it was brilliant. We had initial traction, but I realized the best thing that came out of year one was we weren't working. The commercials weren't adding up and aligning with our market, and because we were building on assumption. Now, going back to what I said when I intro myself, it was a problem I had as a student. Me and my co-founder, me and Ben had our, but you know, we were solving our own problem. It's an awesome thing, and one of our biggest downfalls as well, because we thought we knew everything about our product. This is going to be perfect for everyone. Students, agents are going to love it because it solves our problem. But we're just building from a student perspective and forgot about what the agent actually wants, because they're actually our end user in terms of bill payers and revenue, right? Not the student. So we had to rebuild, and we would listen to the market. And we realized that agents don't want to be spending thousands of pounds a month on advertisement. So what we've pivoted our model to allow for fiscal risk. So the first step of our sales process was actually understanding what that demand actually looks like and reading between the lines to really figure out what the commercials should be, and just speaking to our customers. It's often a scary thing when you're trying to be this impression that you're their next best service or product. Still ask them what they want. And so what we launched was a parent agent scheme, where we work with a select number of parent agents to give us feedback on our commercials and products all year round. So by the end of year one, we had initial traction, but a perfectly fitting product and market fit, because we've listened to our agents. And now our product gives zero fiscal risk to our clients, because we actually pay them to use us and still make healthy revenues year on year. So that's the first step, actually figuring out, have you built on assumption or demand? And if you're at the start of your journey, actually speaking to your customer, that's what we did. And then we used relevant distribution channels. A lot of our sales are inbound because of how much we've changed the way the agency model worked, where we're paying them to rent their homes out for them now. But a lot of it is on referral scheme, inbound referral scheme, but also distribution channels and integrations with different partners who have already got that. You know, look at how you can connect with existing distribution partners who already made that cold sale, and have an integration rather than a cold outreach, because then it's much quicker, and it's all about partnerships. So the underpinning thing, without waffling on, is partnerships and speaking to your customers, and that's what I did. And we had to go up those stairs again when we realised we weren't working in year one. We seem to be, fingers crossed, working now. So
thanks. It's really interesting, Harry, because most founders at early stage will pivot, and like you say, we'll kind of go right, we've solved a problem, but it doesn't necessarily align with the commercial strategy. Who was the natural kind of salesperson? Because I think what happens a lot with early stage founders, which is why I was really keen to get you on the podcast, is you get a lot of interest and positive sentiment from these conversations, but actually translating that into a sale. And obviously you went via a partnership route as well. Like, just talk us through a bit of your sales approach or your sales strategy. And was there a sort of pivotal moment where you thought, this is working now, like we're actually generating, decent revenue, we can grow from this?
yes, I'm the primary salesperson, Hauser. And I think that's okay. Most founders think, I'm going to have a team around me, sales team, account managers. No, you know your product better than anyone else. So I kind of, the way I describe it to my team is like a rock on the edge of the cliff. You've got to put an awful lot of energy to actually push it off, but once it's off, it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker until it reaches like the velocity. So it's going so quickly, but it needs that initial momentum and push. And that was me. I was a primary salesperson pushing it off, and I put processes and systems in place. Then my team then went and sold. I got regional sales lead in all cities that I'm in, and then went and got them on board. Some of my techniques, for example, were actually warming the lead. You try and go in straight away as a cold outreach. You're gonna trigger a fight or flight response in sales. especially in our industry and property, they're busy all year round most of the time because they're dealing with students all year round. And they don't want to hear you. You might have an amazing product, they don't care. It's fight or flight. No, I'm okay. No, they don't let you get chance. They don't give you chance to speak and pitch. So it's all about actually warming that lead and giving you the time. So the initial meetings have always been about, hey, look, this is who I am. I don't want to go into detail what we do. Just let me book a meeting with you and I'll prove to you why. See, that just there, that doesn't sound like it's going to work because they're like, well, you're not telling me what I am. So what we actually did was same methodology, warming up the lead, but encouraging the inbound. So what we did was we put boxes of sweets in lock boxes and all these agents with a code on. And I wrote a handwritten note that basically said, look, I'll give you the code for these sweets if you give me 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, all my leads turned into inbound. I had phone calls asking me what the code was. I said, okay, I'll book a meeting with you. We went in, converted them, and that's history. Now, it seems a lot easier as it was. It was a slog, and it still is a slog. There's multiple different ways we do it. Partnerships, cold outreach, phoning them, going in, referrals. That was one of the ways we did it. But it's all about warming that lead and encouraging the inbound. And if you can't encourage the inbound, what we do is we look at how you can, from an agent's perspective or your customer's perspective, change your sales pitch accordingly. You might think the best way to sell your product is telling people exactly what you do and how you're going to change their life. They often don't give a crap. They don't care. You need to exactly solve certain pain points within the wider pain point spectrum. So agents, we were like, we're going to change this. We're going to do this. We're doing this for students. They were like, no, we're not bothered. And we were like, right, what do they want? They want more leads or the same amount of leads for reduced costs. So I was like, okay. So I went in and said, look, I represent a community of X thousands of students who are looking for one of your properties. Can you pass me on your portfolio and I'll share it with my students? Now, they don't know. I've got an app that advertises properties to students. What I said is completely true. I represent this community of students on my app, but I've not gone into detail. But I don't have to because they've gone, right, they're going to give me leads. I'll book in a meeting. I've booked in a meeting. I've warmed the lead up. It's turned to an inbound because they now consciously put time in. I then spoke to them, then pitched to them, then got them on. So it's about like looking at the perspective of your customer in terms of what you're actually selling to. Your sales pitch will have to be bespoke to most agents. Really do your research. Warm the lead up as much as you can and try and turn it into an inbound. That could be asking for a time when's best for them. They consciously then book out 15 minutes in their mind next week to speak to you. So you get rid of the fight or flight response in the sales process. And be creative with it as well. Be a bit guerrilla like the sweet boxes. Yeah. And that's what we've managed to do. So,
what type of sweets was it, just out of interest?
Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. Haribo's, it's like a massive box. Probably each side was probably A3 size, like that sort of box, like a cube with a padlock on. What we said to them cheekily, this is the creativity and the guerrilla stuff, is we said to them the code was something about Hauser. So you had all these people, all these agents, we could see it, we could track it, looking on our app, looking on our website, my LinkedIn, my co-founder's LinkedIn, my team's LinkedIn, everywhere. It was nothing to do with Hauser at all. But what it made them do was search everything about Hauser. They knew about what we were doing and knew about me before I went in. And so they were never going to find it. So they're always going to keep searching that next website, that next app, the next email, next LinkedIn. And it worked. They knew an awful lot about us when I went in there. So it was a lot warmer and I turned it into that inbound style.
So fingers crossed, any future ones aren't listening to this, so they're not actually going to.
Well, hey, look, my product's that good that you should come on board anyway. So
yeah,
there you go. There's the salesman.
That's really interesting. I don't think we've ever had a founder talk so in detail about the sales process and that fight or flight response. So really interesting, and thank you so much for sharing that. So obviously you've got a bit of traction, you've got a bit of revenue, etc. You've fast forward a bit, you've now got a pretty decent sized team, I would say. I've seen a team picture. There's how many of you is there in Hauser?
So in the UK there's about 18 and then there's about 2. Yeah, so no, it's about 26 in total if you include our US team. It's hard because there's some people that are about to come on that I don't really want to include just yet. And I'm not the sort of person to be like, okay, I've got 1 million people when there's only 5 people. So about 26 heads across the company in Manchester, Birmingham, New York, and Nebraska.
Amazing. So just talk us through your approach to scaling the team then. It's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it? The more people you have, ideally, the more revenue you can generate. But until you're generating that revenue, there's a nervousness around commitment in terms of headcount. So how did you approach that?
The nervousness, about commitment is, first of all, number one, nerves are just your body getting you ready for something. So don't be scared of no's for number one. But two, the biggest thing for me was, look, if I reduce my runway, you know, as long as I've got purpose of hire, that reduction in runway isn't actually making the business vulnerable. For example, I know my break-even point. I don't mind saying it is my Independence Day, we call it, is July next year. So we outweigh our costs by revenue from July quite considerably, where we're actually in profit at the same time. So I know my runway has to get me from now until July.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I reduce my runway to make a hire, I'm doing it with a purpose on securing that break even, or trying to be even more profitable at that point, or making sure the business is at 100% optimization between now and that point. And there's some hires I've had to do that. So I've actually reduced my runway recently by a couple of months, pardon me, to bring in some really awesome ops people to help my head of operations Hugo, because we're finding, just being transparent, we're a tech platform, but at the end of the day, until we reach critical mass and people are fully understanding it autonomously, there's a lot of hand holding and operational marketplace demands we need to adhere to. So we need some more bandwidth to make sure we can function. And there's no point us knowing we're going to be profitable if we can't function now, right? So it's about taking that risk, but with purpose. Map it out. Why are you hiring? Not just do a task. Hiring doesn't solve problems. Money and hiring don't solve all your problems. You've got to have purpose and frameworks and matrices to understand what that hire is going to do in the grand scheme of your business, in the roadmap you've got. And how I went about doing it, to be honest, we've only just got to a stage now where we've kind of lifted our head out of the sand and gone, okay, what's our hiring strategy for the next 12 months? Before it was like, right, okay, I need this, need this, need this. This is the demands, this demands, very pay as you go. I like to say we're now looking at a contract sort of thing, and that's kind of not pay as you go as in the way. I'm going to disclaimer: we pay decent salaries. It's not pay as you go like that. I mean, as in it's that model of finding someone.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we've done it so far. Just looking at our wider roadmap and not worrying about reducing runway, because we know it's purposeful and fits in our growth metrics anyway.
Fab. Thanks, Harry. That's really interesting. James, any thoughts from you in terms of?
No, I think, like you say, it's interesting, because everyone pays relatively fairly these days, especially in tech, and it's, I say, how you grow that team to enable scale is one of the most important things, and making sure you get the right people in at the right time. Because, like you say, I think a lot of founders, when they first start looking at hires, we obviously encourage tech, but I think looking at your own skill set and whether you do need to bring in, especially very early on, that salesperson, if you don't feel it's your forte. Like, obviously, Harry, you're very confident and good at the sales side, and very innovative in that space. But if people aren't that confident in whether it's pitching or don't think good at sales, one, you probably are, like you say, your product better than anyone else. But making sure you can get those first early sales in to start getting that run is so.
Yeah, I was gonna say a note on that. I don't know if this comes across controversial or not, but there's a founder listening to this that doesn't think they can pitch. They're completely wrong. They're just looking at a pitch in the wrong way. Like, if you're a founder, you can definitely pitch the best in any room you walk into your own business, 100%. You don't have to prepare answers to questions. You naturally know it because you're speaking to people, and people often define a pitch in a different way. A pitch in a room of 100 people is the exact same pitch you should give when you're having a conversation in a different way to someone in the pub. And if you can give a conversation, it's like that Navy advert, isn't it? If you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. But if you're in a pub and you can, or yoga or a gym or whatever, you can astutely converse your idea and what you're doing to someone where they get it, you can goddamn pitch. So you need to just basically formalize that into a presentation, and you can do it. So honestly, I think anyone that says they can't, they definitely can, is looking at it in the wrong way. And if anyone, I'm happy to say this, if anyone still just doesn't think they can, message me and I will sit with you and I'll help you do it, because it's so important that the founders can pitch. It's so important. So important.
No, recently was the
taking on another job there.
there's recently all the Procure events around founder pitches, and like I say, you should be able to talk about your business for 5 to 8 minutes. Should be, whether it's a presentation or whether you just, like say, the classic, the classic elevator pitch, or you're on a train to London talking to someone. You never know who's sat opposite you, and you need to be able to convey that story, that message, and you should be the person that knows best. And it's, I think when people say the word sales, sometimes they get a bit scared, or the idea of pitching to a room of 100, or pitching to
Yeah,
investors
and
asking for 100.
definitely. And the thing I'll just say as well, like get a sentence that can resonate with any sort of person, any demographic, in any market, in any industry that can get what you're trying to do. Just get that sentence and build your pitch around that. So ours is, look, Nairi, James, you can walk out of wherever you are right now. In 3 clicks, you can order an Uber. Be wherever you want to be across the country. Why can't, as a renter, move into a new city for the first time? And in 3 clicks, you rent a home all in one. Why can't you do that? And that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build the future of rental where you can rent a home in 3 clicks. Any person, any market can understand that we're trying to build the future of rental by making it as easy as ordering an Uber. And then you build the rest of your pitch around that statement, and then you build your metrics and stuff. So try and figure out what that one line is, you know, and build it from there, and just start writing it down. And that's what we've done.
Brilliant. So interesting. Thank you so much, Harry. I know, just to glamorize the founder lifestyle, you're off to New York this week, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm away for the best part of 3 weeks to see my team in America. We're announcing our next growth round of 7 million in 2 weeks, and then so we're raising that while we're there, and then we're also closing off our first university client in Nebraska. So I'm in New York and Nebraska 2 and a bit weeks, which is crazy.
And that's why never a dull moment. So hopefully we've had so much really good stuff. Thank you so much for finding the time.
No, sure.
Because I know how busy you are, but it really is. It's so valuable, and I think any founder that's having a bit of doubt or a bit low on confidence, I think this is going to be a really useful podcast for them to listen to, and hopefully. And I'm going to book you in a few months' time. You can come back and tell us all about how you've closed your raise in record time and what Houser's doing in the States and growing globally then.
Definitely. And look, I mean this when I say this. I'm more than happy to lend a helping hand. I don't know why anyone wants to listen to me, but if you do and want to chat, then as a founder, it's often an echo chamber. Nairi, I know we were speaking about it. It's often an echo chamber being a founder. You know, I'm there, and you know, hopefully me and Nairi are working on something as well at the moment. You'll hear of where that conversation can be an open conversation. But I'm always here if anyone wants to book any time with me. I'll leave my Calendly link with the guys, and they can book something in. If you just put why you're booking it in and where you've come from at the Startup Factory and stuff, and then that's fine.
I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, they will. And I think that's the best thing about, for me, like that Manchester founder community, isn't it? That people are just so generous with their time and genuinely want to help other people. So that's really fab. Thanks so much, Harry, and for telling us all about the early days of Houser as well, because I know obviously how successful it is now, but I've always wanted to know a bit more about how it kind of started out. So it's been really nice.
Hey, my first job was when I was 14, running around in a Spider-Man outfit, so it's changed a lot.
Do you want to see some pictures of this fashion brand at some point, though?
Oh, no, you don't. You do not. You do not.
That's on my list for next time I see you. Right, so
thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you, James. Anything else you wanted to?
No, honestly, Harry, thanks so much. And like you say, you know, and if anyone does need help, you know, feel free to reach out to, you know, a lot of ex-founders, founders who've been there, done that, got the scars, the medals, you know, are often willing to help. And obviously, Harry, it's a great offer, and I'm sure people are taking you up on it to just chat through where they're up to.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you very much, Harry.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye-bye. I think that just about wraps things up here. If you have any thoughts or questions on anything we've said today, get in touch, whether that be through our Twitter @RealTSF or email at hello@Thestartupfactory.tech, or feel free to drop in for a coffee and a chat. As ever, thanks for listening.